Hey guys, it's DT. As you can see, I am wearing my Transformers shirt, which can only mean one thing: big boxes. These two just arrived today. This is probably one of my most anticipated Transformers pieces of the year. It is the new Azure Sea Optimus Prime. So I think Azure Sea is pretty new to the statue game. I don't own any other pieces. I actually never heard of them prior to this piece coming out. I remember seeing pictures of this piece quite a while back. I actually picked this one up from Todd over at Spec Fiction. I believe he is handling all their US orders. I was a little hesitant on picking this one up only because I already have like 5 Optimus Primes in my collection. So I really didn't know if I wanted to go down the rabbit hole of getting a whole new line. I thought I would just start with Optimus, see how the quality is, and then debate on whether or not I wanted to add any of their other pieces to my collection. XM Studios seems to be slowing down a little bit on their line. They haven't revealed anything in quite some time, which saddens me because I love that line. However, this might be a perfect opportunity to add some of these pieces to my collection to kind of fill up that void. So enough talking, let's get to the statue. There are 2 big boxes. I think there are a lot of pieces for this, so I'm not gonna go over each individual piece separately. I think I'm just gonna unbox this, put all the pieces here on the table for you guys to see, and then we're gonna try to put this thing together. All right, let's do it. All right, guys, this is a first. They included a tube of super glue. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad one. I guess I appreciate that they included it, but kind of makes me a little worried. All right, guys, I got everything out of the box. There are a lot of pieces here, but I have to say I am very impressed with what I am seeing so far. The colors are nice and vibrant, definitely not lacking in the details department either. We have a couple different switch outs as well, and we have this humongous base here. This is a little bit bigger than I had imagined. Definitely gonna have a hard time finding a place for this one, and it's not even assembled yet. This one didn't come with instructions. There is a video online which I might have to refer to. I didn't see any broken pieces while I was taking this out of the package, so hopefully we don't have to use that glue, but you never know what you might come upon when you're putting this thing together. And look, they even included a cup that you can drink from when you get dehydrated from sweating from assembling this thing. So I think we're ready. Let's put this thing together. All right, guys, so here is the big guy. I know I say this a lot, but this thing is a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be. Just looking at the base alone, you can tell how massive it is. This is a 24-inch turntable, and this thing is sticking out both sides. So putting together the basic structure of Optimus wasn't too hard. He's very similar to other robots that I've assembled before. You basically stick the two legs in, attach the torso, the arms, the head, and then comes the tricky part. We have to put on all these little bits and accessories. I tried to do it without looking at the video. That was probably a mistake. So if you're getting this piece, the first thing you're going to want to do is put on all these explosion pieces. The main reason is he actually stands on this one right here. So if you don't put it in first, you're going to have to do like I did and kind of try and lift his leg out and kind of shove it in underneath. That's not ideal when you're dealing with a statue that's over 50 pounds. But an interesting thing with this explosion here, you can see that he's stepping on this entire thing. This part right here just keys in, but they also give you this part. First, I didn't put any explosion, and then I saw that this part right here keys in under his foot. So I put this one in, and then I was like, well, how do you attach this one? Because it goes over where this one would be. It actually covers up the key that this fits in, and I'm thinking it's just another option. Maybe you don't want this giant explosion because it does add to the width of the piece. Of course, you can just take this part out, but then you're left with a very big key here. It is in the back of the statue, so you're not likely to see it, but some people might be bugged by that. So you can take this whole thing out and stick this smaller one in with 3 smaller little explosions, and it kind of goes under his foot and it doesn't take up nearly as much room. I guess that's kind of cool. It's just kind of a pain if you want to do that, because you have to, like I said, lift his leg up in order to get these other pieces out. While we're talking about the explosions, this one that sticks out the edge that kind of creates the most width is easily removable. It doesn't even have a key. It does have a magnet, but you really can't see it on the base. And if you remove it, there's no holes here, so it doesn't look like anything's missing other than an explosion. The same thing goes for this front piece. The whole thing just kind of lifts off. So it's very clean. You can very vaguely see that there's a circle there where the magnet is. But other than that, you have a cleaner looking ship. You can remove this whole part as well, and that'll save you a lot of space. This little Autobot emblem is just on its own little stand, so you can kind of put it wherever you want. You don't even have to put it near this statue. If you have other Transformers in your collection, you want to display it with that, or you just want to stick this on your desk somewhere, you can do that. I guess this is the Ark that's crashing. It's obviously not to scale because Optimus is riding it like a surfboard, but it does tell a very nice story. But I'm gonna go ahead and stick these back on. I do think they create a little bit more interest to the piece, but again, if space is your concern, that's definitely nice to have the option to remove all this stuff. There are some lighter, flexible, plasticky pieces like this one right here that you actually have to kind of bend into place. Of course, you don't want to bend them too much or they might snap. For the most part, everything fit in very nicely. There were a few little areas, this front chest piece here, as well as the back rear exhaust pipe. The fit was a little loose. While I was assembling this thing, I did kind of just barely tap it, and this whole thing kind of fell out. It actually fell off, hit this part fell onto the floor, and nothing is broken. I guess we have to give credit to the sturdiness of this thing. I don't really have any fears or concerns other than the ones I just pointed out. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the statue. All right, so as I mentioned before, we've got this Ark base. Of course, that is the ship that the Autobots were traveling on when they came to Earth. This thing tells the story of it kind of crashing into the ground. As we can see, all these little explosions going on. Definitely creates a dynamic scene here on the base. We've got a lot of details here on the backside with these rocket engines. It's kind of a shame you don't get to see these from the front, but some really nice detail in there. This was that cup I was showing you guys earlier. I guess for shipping reasons, they put this thing on separately. We can see another engine right here that's kind of buried into the ground. And then on the other side, we can also see some more parts of the ship. Maybe some Cybertronian markings down here. And then of course all the explosions. The ones over here, I guess we have to display just because they do key in and they would leave holes if they weren't there. But these aren't the ones that would take up a lot of room. Explosions are nicely done. We've got some nice shadowing going on there. These seams are quite noticeable where this kind of shrapnel is flying out. Down here we've got a little rocket. So I guess maybe it's not the crash. Maybe there are Decepticons that are actually attacking the Ark and Optimus is out here defending it. Pretty cool action-packed base. Then we're moving up to Optimus. He's got a pretty dynamic pose as well. He's got sort of that Captain Morgan stance where one leg is bent a little bit higher, the other leg is more straight, but he's got a lot of action going on with his upper body. It's got a nice twist to his torso. In this version, he's got his ion cannon and he is pointing with his left hand while looking in the same direction. I think it's got a nice flow to it. And we have all these other pieces around him that you can see have a lot of movement. That's one of the things I really liked about the XM Studios Transformers is they didn't look too blocky. I think this guy is a lot beefier than the XM Studios Optimus Prime. Of course, this one was inspired by the IDW comic books. This one definitely takes some inspiration from those Japanese Gundam robots. We have the humongous legs, a skinnier thigh and waist, and then it kind of balloons back up with the upper body and the arms. He's also got these giant antennae too, or ears. I think it's really cool. If that's not your thing, I can see why you might not like this one. So when I compare this Optimus Prime to other ones, I kind of see this as being the Lamborghini of Optimus Prime. He's got this new car paint job. The colors on this are just so vibrant. I love the blue, I love the red that they use for this one. It's probably not as realistic as the XM Studios Transformers. However, I think this is just a cool, slick look. So one of the things that sold me on the XM Studios Transformers line is that they took the traditional G1 Transformers element and they kind of modernized them, kind of made them a little bit cooler. Well, this one just kind of takes it another step forward. So if you're a G1 purist and you hated the XM Studios Transformers, I don't think you're gonna like this one either. However, if you're like me and you're up for the change, you're up for something cool, this one is definitely something to have in the collection. But I'll bring over the XM Studios Optimus and put it right here next to this guy. At the end of the video. Lots of detail in here. We can see all the different plating, the hydraulics, the tubing. We can see vents, little grates here and there, all the little moving parts and pieces. We've got the tires in the legs. We also have some tires here under his arm that kind of form his lats. We've got the two exhaust pipes. It's kind of a cool design element, kind of simulating wings. They're not on his arms like they traditionally are. I love how he has sort of this spine that kind of curves around. And you can see a lot more machinery there in his elbows. He's got these big plates on his forearm as well. You'll see them later on some of these parts. So for this one, they had two different head sculpts. I had a hard time at first trying to figure out if there was a difference. They fit in exactly the same. He's looking in the same direction. The outsides of the heads are almost identical. The only difference that I saw was the mask. This one has a very squared off mask, where this one has a little bit more embellishment, maybe a little bit more rounded. So I'm not sure which one is more true to the comic book, but the one I have on right now is definitely more like the old G1 Optimus Prime. You just pull off this portion in the back, and there is actually a little button on the back. It's very similar to the design of the Prime 1 Studios Transformers, and that way you don't have to remove the head in order to get to the switch, in order to turn it on. There's also some cool details after you assemble the head. You have to put on these little hydraulic pieces, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, and then attach some shoulder pieces on top of that. I think it looks really cool. However, it makes switching out the heads kind of a nightmare. But kind of cool, they gave us another option. Maybe if they had a different head position, it might have been a little bit more useful, but I'm happy with this one. So while we have this arm on, I'll show you guys this hand option. This is him holding the head of Galvatron. that one just goes in like that. And for a license piece, I thought that was a pretty bold move to have this beheaded Galvatron here. So maybe I'll use the point, maybe I'll use the head. I wish the head was kind of detachable and then I can kind of just put it on the ground. We have these two bladed hands, one blade for each hand. This one doesn't seem to want to fit in here, or it doesn't want to stay. It's in there right now by friction, but I think they forgot to put the magnet. Like looking at this one, I can clearly see an outline of a circle where the magnet would be, but I don't see a circle on this hand. If I put it in there, it'll stay there, but any little movement, this thing is coming out. So right now, here it is. I'm gonna move it really slowly because I don't want it to fall out. Actually, I'm gonna hold it there. But there we go, we got a gun in one hand, a blade in the other. I think that looks super cool. Of course, you're gonna have to watch where you put this thing because these things are kind of pointy, and if you're walking by it, you could cut yourself or poke your eye out. Let's go ahead and switch his other arm out. I'm gonna take this out for now. I don't want it to fall. I don't think the blade goes in this hand. Kind of fits in there, but not really. Kind of wobbles around. I don't think his hand was meant to be positioned this way. Look at that, looks pretty cool. So I guess that's an option if you don't mind loose hands. But I think you're supposed to switch out the arms, and these arms are heavy. All right, so that just slides in there. This one does have a pretty strong magnet. There's the double-bladed option. I think it looks pretty cool. And then finally we have this axe. I really like the way they did these thermal blades. They use like a translucent resin. I think it gives off a very nice effect. So there we go. We've got the thermal axe with the thermal blade. All right, enough of this one. I don't want it to fall out, so I'm gonna stick the head back on there. There's the head, and there's the axe he used to cut it off. So our final option is another cool option, but we need to remove his entire arm for that. These shoulder pieces just key and peg in to the top of the arm. He's already got his hand attached. Then we need to put on this little plate. It's got a battery compartment for 2 batteries again. This time there is a switch. And when we switch it on, a little LED light comes on right here. And then we put this little translucent globe on the top. But very similar to the one from XM, where he's looking at an illuminated screen. This one, he is actually looking at an illuminated holographic globe. And just to kind of mirror that XM Studios pose, let's go ahead and stick that cannon back on his hand. Let's give him back his gun. Optimus needs his gun. So if you guys saw my review on the XM Studios Optimus Prime, you'll remember that my criticism was that Optimus's gun arm was in the shooting position, either high up or out to the side. But I think they fixed it here because it's sort of in this neutral position. He's not actually in that firing position. So I think it looks much better on this statue because he has that bent elbow. With this pose, I think you can position him a little bit more flat to the front. Here, if you do put it at a diagonal, he kind of blocks his face. The last feature we have is with his chest right here. So this one doesn't have a hinge where we can actually flip out the windshield. Instead, we have to completely remove it. And then we have these alternate windshield pieces that we have to key in. So this one goes over here. They're connected by magnets. This one goes here. And now we can see his open chest cavity. We can see the matrix of leadership, all the cool details within his chest. So that's kind of a cool option if you wanted to see inside. Personally, I would have loved it if they had a little hinge that you could just kind of open up and close. It has hinges right here. They're just sculpted in. They're not actually functional. So when I was first looking at this thing, I didn't know there was a light up feature here. I know the XM Studios matrix lit up, but I didn't see a switch or anything for this one. But if you look closely at where the head key's in, there's actually a little plug, and that plugs into the bottom of the head, which supplies the power to the matrix. I've never seen that before on a statue, so I thought it was really cool. So the same switch that turns on the light in the head also turns on the matrix. I think that's all the different options we have with this guy. When it comes down to it, I like this kind of classic looking pose the best, but that's not to say I won't switch it out from time to time, because these blades do look pretty awesome. So I'm gonna take off all these switch outs. I'm gonna bring in the XM Studios Optimus Prime just so we can put them side by side. The XM piece will be a little bit shorter just because I don't have another turntable at the moment, but it should give you a good idea of how much bigger this guy is. We'll use this thing for now. Ugh. All right, this guy's not small either. All right, guys, here we have the two Optimus Primes. We have the champion right here with the challenger over here on this side. Man, both of these are big. I haven't tried picking this one up yet, but as you can see, this guy is a lot more bulky. Lends itself a little bit more to the traditional G1, even though it does have quite a few upgrades, like this awesome rocket pack on the back. The colors aren't as vibrant, but I think that was an artistic choice. I do like the proportions a little bit better on this guy, especially in this upper torso. This one, he's got this super wide chest, kind of tapers down into his waist. The head on this one is kind of small compared to his giant body, but I think that just goes along with the art style. The head on Optimus on the XM is actually a little bit bigger than the head on this guy right here. And Optimus here has one of the smaller heads in the Transformers line. So they've kind of got the same right arm going up pose. Kind of creates a display dilemma for me, because obviously I don't want to have two statues doing the exact same pose. I'm a little reluctant to say which one is my favorite. Obviously, we don't get the alt mode with this. The details on the XM seem a little bit more defined, especially like in this midsection here with the grill. As always, let me know what you guys think of this guy, or any of the Azure Sea Transformers. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.